Hi, my name is Myra Tanksley, and I'm recording this on October the 15th, 2017. And I am recording these audio videos because I am a single parent of a wonderful young man with autism. He's 24 years old. His name is Marquis. We're African American family, and I think that's pretty important given the racial climate of this country since 1776, and I'll kind of dwell and go deeper into that, the racism and that racial aspect of it, because one thing I am not in denial. I can accept the truth no matter how ugly and racist it is. I can still see it for what it is. I'm also a Christian, and I serve a God that's a just God, and God will show things the way they really are, whether people want to hide it or deny it or accept it or acknowledge it, or you know or not. God will uh, put things out front and center, and he's allowed me to be able to expose and to tell the story of what's been going on with my son and me as a mother, because I love my son just like they all, and I'm talking about the system, love their kids. And I've never abused or neglected him. I've been a medical professional for, I'm going to say 31 years now. I've been an RN for a mighty long time. So, and I doubt if I could practice nursing if I was abusing, neglecting my son. But again, race has a lot to do with this, because when people practice racism, they just treat um, the victim race negatively. This can be the same facts and circumstances, but that victim is not going to be treated the same way. They're going to be treated differently and negatively, because I know they're not telling white parents, mothers and fathers, oh, you escalate your son. I know one lady I met on Facebook, she has two sons that are autistic that were very, very aggressive, with their behaviors, some physical aggression and property destruction and everything. They still let her keep her two sons, even though Child Corruption Services, and that's Franklin County Board of um, Children's Services, Franklin County Children's Services, because they try to say that I was abusing and neglecting my son when I went to them for help, because the Franklin County Board of DD wouldn't help me. Boy, do I have a story to tell. But anyway, they let her keep her two sons there, even though they took custody, but they really didn't take physical custody. They let her keep her sons there. But they told me, they said, well, you have to give up custody for us to be able to help your son. And you shouldn't have to be labeled an unfit mother and got to give up your child just to get treatment or services, which just about any autistic family or family of an autistic person is going to need some supportive services. I mean, you even need it with basic education. The education has to be actually changed into an IEP or special needs education, just because your child or that student to the school district is going to need special need education because of the disability that they have. And when you can't even get, decent service uh, and treatment because either they don't have it or the staff, because my son's been, actually abused by a lot of people in a lot of different categories, in education, in healthcare, um, people not knowing about autism, blaming him for his disability, don't know how to work with him, um, law enforcement, um, agencies, even these so-called professionals that work in the DD field. They don't call it MRDD anymore. They call it DD, or developmental disability fields. I know. I've lived it. And I know they don't know about autism by the way they have treated my son, the things they accuse him of, and me as well. I said, because my son doesn't get escalated by me. He vents to me, not about me. And you would too. If you have a mother that you know that loves you and you love your mother and you've been terrorized and traumatized and all day long you've been in sensory overload and you're hungry and people are abusing you and you're scared of the staff and the resident, and like where they have him now is in a rundown, terrible, crime-ridden neighborhood. And it's a little old tiny 10 steps from the front door to the back door, some little old tiny townhome. And it's so terrible. The neighborhood is so bad that they have to put, or they actually did, they actually have a metal gate, black metal gate, and it's supposed to be locked. But most of the time, the front part of it on the one side is not locked. But it's in a terrible neighborhood. And I go by it quite a bit because that's the last place I know that my son is at. And I always see new, different staff. And like today, there was a boy that was standing there, and he looked like he was on drugs, out there smoking in the yard. But it's just terrible. He's living in poverty. He's living in a terrible neighborhood. He has no privacy. The turnover of the staff, I've never seen the same people over there. Never. Because they sit out there in the yard. And I said, now that's the best that my son's got to be living in. And his unfit, evil, racist attorney, fraudian, because she was appointed by the corrupt probate court of Franklin County, Ohio, and nobody in the government is ethical. They're all rotten. They're all corrupt. They're all racist. And they're cowards. Because ain't nobody, it's a code of silence. Let's just keep getting this federal money. And that's why I said I'm looking forward to seeing not only my son coming back home, but God spiking these booties. Because God designed a family. And I said, these people love to break up families, especially black families. That's been going on since 1776. And God designed a family. And unless there's neglect and abuse in that family, it's unconstitutional to separate the family. And it's also against God's design. He made the family. And I'm looking forward to not only having my son back home, because God knows I miss him, I love him, but Jesus comforts me, and he's my hope. And I've already seen Jesus do a lot of things, and I know he'll bring my son back home. It'll take him to defeat this army of racist government trash and bring Marquis back home. But I'm also looking forward to him not bringing him home only, but I'm looking forward to seeing him spike some booties. And I'll tell you why right now. Because God went ahead and took attorney David Belinkie off this planet. Because when he was talking to me and bragging, he was a very racist Jewish lawyer. And I got that on tape. It's on my YouTube channel. It's on one of my, I think it's on at least one of my Facebook pages, and I got 3. He was bragging. I said, bad enough if you are corrupt, but to brag about it, And then he thought he was a phenomenon and everything, and God hates injustice and he hates pride. And this man was arrogant, but it was the weirdest thing because I felt anger, but it wasn't towards me. It wasn't coming from me, but it was all over that conversation, even though that me and him was having a civil conversation. He lied to me about a lot of things and stuff, but it's on audio tape. So the audio recording has been made. But I felt anger coming from somebody towards him. So I knew God was going to punish him when he was talking to me. Within a year, he died unexpectedly. And the Lord told me after he made me go get the paper, because that's how I found out about it. Lord spun me around at Walmart and made me go get the paper that day that his name was in the obituary. And Lord said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. So you ain't got to go. That's why I don't call Sanford anymore. And that's the unfit, racist, lying attorney. And I can say these things. I'm not a name caller, but I will describe what type of person a human being a person is. But she ain't gonna come at me with no slander because I can prove it. It ain't slander if it's true. It's not slander if it's true. And I got at least 3 audio tapes proving what a liar she is. But she done went ahead and she used to work with Mashburn Law Office, which is another corrupt fraud in. Because these people take 100, 200, 100, 200, 300 wards because they make money off of them because they get their SSI money. But she's getting my son's what is it, $800 a month while he lives in poverty, and she lets people abuse him and neglect him. Because I have heard, and this has been going on since 2012, and I've have seen and heard my son being physically abused and verbally abused. That's why I say none of that government racist trash gonna say nothing to me. And I'm talking from John Kasich on down. But I also let President Obama know about it. I just wrote a letter to Trump and stuff. So ain't none of them would say that I didn't tell him about it. But God has to bring him out because there's only certain things that God can do. Or not that way. There's only certain things that only God can deal with. I don't mean that there's only certain things that God can do. He can do any and everything, any way he pleases, at any time he pleases to do it. But there's just certain things that only God can defeat. That's what I mean. And when you got an army full of sick, racist, trash, and these people are in all areas of government, in the legal system, the judges, the magistrates, the attorneys or lawyers, their court investigators, their whatever. And even God says these people exist. And like I said, I'm a Christian, so the Bible tells me what's up. And when God talks about injustice, he ain't talking about the average Joe out on the street. He talking about the scum that works in these courts and stuff. And the Bible is just full of things about injustice. Just full of it. From the Old Testament to the New Testament. So God acknowledges it. And that's why I like to say it. Because God will put it out there, whether people want to acknowledge it or not. Just like with this racism. One thing after another, front and center. Where you got these sick, racist white people been denying it and said it's all over with. Pass the ball on to the victims. But not all white people are racist. That's why you got white people out there marching with black people, because they're not in denial. They can accept and acknowledge the fact that racism is a big old nasty illness that this country continues to have since, I'm going to say, 1776. That's what I'm going to say. That's why they're out there marching, because they're not in denial. But whether you want to deny it or not, God will keep it front and center. Because God is a just God, and he puts it out there like it is. If he wants it out there, it's going to be out there. So what I'm doing, I have 3 Facebook pages. And I have, the third one is an audio tape page. And I said, because they always, and then here I'm going to talk about the racism thing. Because they have always escalated my son. When he has, aggressive behaviors or meltdowns, or if he's agitated and stuff. I said, so when these white individuals are having behaviors due to them being autistic, aggression or meltdowns, who do they blame that on? I said, because I know they don't tell these white mothers and white fathers, you escalate your son or you escalate your daughter. But they want to tell the black mother that. I said, so what is the reason when they're at home, having meltdowns and physical aggression and some of them, because my son, he only would do property destruction. He never really would, harm himself. And he would never hit me. But if you go to these autistic threads and message boards, and I read many of them over the years, from the time I found out that my son was autistic when he was just real young, I have read them, and um, some of those autistic individuals, especially during the teen years, that's when my son started getting very aggressive. When the teen years and puberty and hormones and all of that, it's hard for them to handle that. So I would go to these message boards and just read up about every category, you know. And these parents would talk about how some of their kids, they had to put helmets on them because they were head bangers. They would beat their heads with their fists. And then they would talk about how, they would have injuries from their son or daughter with autism, scratching them or biting them, and bruises on their arms and all that kind of stuff. But none of them has ever written. But the government officials said that I escalated them, you know. But that was blamed for my son's behaviors, But I said it's the black mother thing. I said same circumstances, but they're gonna only blame the black mother for that. But none of them white parents ever wrote anything like that. And like I told him, I said, well, he's venting to me, not about me. I said he's got a right. I said, because they think he's like some inanimate object, like a table. He doesn't have feelings. I said he has a right to vent to his mother. He could tell me anything. That's my child, and I love him dearly. And I encourage my son to tell me anything that he's feeling, but he would tell me because my son is not nonverbal, so they hate that. He's high functioning, actually, even though they mislabel him, because before they put him out in this poverty-stricken, crime-ridden, terrible neighborhood in this townhome. And like I said, 10 steps and you from the front door to the back door. It ain't got no kind of, because they leave the door open all the time, let all them bugs fly in there. Oh, it's just awful. The staff is just terrible. The stuff my son has been living and suffering through. I just said, Jesus. But Jesus said, I got it handled. And he said, well, get ready, because when I bring it out, I'm going to bring it out. But nobody has, no parent should have to see and hear the stuff that I've seen and heard my son go through and suffer through, especially if they're disabled. But like I said, if it wasn't for Jesus, that's why I don't even call Sanford no more. He said, don't call that evil, corrupt woman anymore. Don't waste your time, because I got this thing handled. So don't call none of them, And then I went ahead and wrote that letter to Trump. I said, but, Lord said, just let it go, because I'm going to have to be the one to bring him home. And he'll come home when I say he's going to come home. Ain't nobody going to keep him there. Nobody going to stop him from coming back home to be with you. Because it's unconstitutional for you to separate a parent or parents and their child. I don't care if it's an adult child or a minor, unless there's abuse and neglect and dysfunction going on in that family. And I ain't never abused or neglected my son, because I love him too darn much. But they sure have. And I got it on these pages. So the first page on Facebook, I'm talking about my 3 Facebook pages, is Abuse and Neglect of Marquis by the government. And like I always say, go to the beginning of the page when I first created it, and then go up and to the most recent post. And that's another reason why, they don't want me to have any contact with him. The second page is Justice for Autistic Marquis Tanksley. Again, go from the beginning of the page when the page was first created. And then this last one where I'm putting these audio tapes of my son in his own words, describing his feelings and incidences of abuse and neglect. It's called the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. But they have not allowed my son to have a visit with me in over 2 years. That's right, you heard me, over 2 years. So the last time that he was allowed to visit me was March the 15th, 2015. And then the last time I actually seen him through my own efforts was coming outside of that rundown townhome because he had told me he had to go to an appointment that the U.S. Department of Education initiated for him when they were putting him in a seclusion closet. Because, see, I've been on TV. I did an interview with a local TV station here, well, two of them, about Marquis, what was how they were abusing him and throwing him in a seclusion closet when they had this seclusion restraint thing going on, all over the country, and how it was traumatizing special ed students or special needs students. But anyway, that was July the 8th, 2015. And I almost didn't recognize my son. He had gained so much weight because they had him on the maximal dose of Thorazine. Sanford allowed the quack, the psychiatrist, to increase his Thorazine all the way up. And he actually was taken off of that. But Belinky threatened me and said, oh, you better let the state of Ohio, keep him on that Thorazine and stuff. But a psychiatrist over at Riverside, one of the local hospitals here, had actually told me how to wean him off, that he needed to be off of it because he was on trazodone. So, but that's not, I don't think, really made him gain all that weight. And if you look at the cover page on the Facebook, you'll see when I seen him March the 15th, 2015. And then when I seen him July the 8th, 2015, it was the lithium. She allowed the quack to, start my son on lithium. And he must have gained at least a good 30, 40 pounds within 3 months. And that's the last time I viewed my son. That's the last time I ever laid my eyeballs on my son, was July the 8th, 2015. And the last time he was allowed to call me was May the 13th, 2017. So they like breaking up that family. But I'm here to tell Sanford and all the rest of that racist government trash, John Kasich, Mike DeWine, he's the Attorney General for Ohio Governor John Kasich, probate court, Franklin County, Ohio Judge Robert Montgomery, Franklin County Board of Disability, DD, Developmental Disabilities, Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, Consumer Support Services is the home DD staff. They got a lying, trashy, racist, they're in Newark, white gal, and I'll tell her to her face, that lied on my son, said he had ran across the street on July the 8th, which is a lie, and I can prove it because it's on the videotape, because I videotaped that. And you can see how they, then some big old nasty, racist, overweight white lady tried to get him to go off on me by pulling, because when he seen me, he was happy to see me. He said, there's my mom. Because I just said the same thing when I seen him coming across the street, but they lied and said he ran across the street. He didn't even run across the street. He walked across the street with them. But they slander me like the evil, unfit, racist, trash that they are. Because they'll lie on you something terrible. I said, but, ain't nobody can prove it. Ain't nobody can prove any of that stuff. Just like they'll lie on my son. But he didn't run across the street. And then she tried to manipulate my son. You just have to look at the videotape. It's from July the 8th, 2015, the last time I've seen my son. Was able to view him. And I waited because I knew that he would be leaving that day around that time, because he told me when we talked on the phone. But the fat lady, that trash, she went ahead and took him across the street and told him to ask me what I came there for. And when he came back, he said it twice, and then he started begging me to stay with him. I said, my son didn't say it initially, and he ain't never said it when he was even in the corrupt, abusive state facility. He loves his mom. And I said, they're going to answer to God. I said, you wonder why sometimes people fall over dead, or something happened to people in their family, or they get hit hard some kind of way. Because God said he will repay. That vengeance is mine, I will repay. And it's a heartbreaking, it's a heartbreaking tape, because my son begged me not to leave him. And then I said, well, go ahead to your counselor, because the U.S. Department of Education Like I said, they initiated that, made a school district. Um, that was part of the agreement because the school district was throwing him into a seclusion closet. And the U.S. Department of Education said, yeah, you violated civil rights and stuff. But he's been treated worse with Sanford and Kasich and Ohio Attorney General's office and Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities, uh, Franklin County Board of Development and Consumer and all this trash than he was at school. He's been treated a lot worse. And like I said, I've seen my son actually physically assaulted and abused. I seen that December 1st, 2012. I've heard my son get physically and verbally abused while he's been talking to me on the phone. And that's why I say none of that trash. I don't care what color it is, white, black, or whatever, because you got a lot of Native Africans that flock to work with disabled people, especially the developmentally disabled. And I figured that out because I said because I don't see any special like they're very empathetic or very compassionate or anything. I figured it out. I said, well, they know they can't speak clear English, so I guess they said, well, they're autistic or retarded. They can't understand us anyway. And I'm going like, why do they hire these people? Because they hated my guts. Well, all of them, all of them hated to see me coming around because them people used to having no oversight and they don't like you coming around seeing what's going on over there. They really hated me over there in the facility. And they have stopped all contact, so I can't see how my son looks and how he's being mistreated, and they don't want him telling me things and stuff. And of course, I give him hope because I'm a Christian. I let him know. I said, that's not your destiny. And Jesus is going to show them they ain't their destiny. Because he might put out some more lights like he did Belinky. I said, because God is in control. And I said, I don't tell him that because I'm trying to make you feel good. I believe it 1,000,000,000%. I know God is in control. And I don't believe that's my son's destiny. Because he ain't going through what he's going through because he done something wrong. It ain't because he deserves it. God ain't allowing that, to go on because my son needs to be punished by God or he deserves it and stuff. God will take this thing and turn it into a powerful testimony of his will, his authority. Because, see, these people think they're all powerful. That's why I said, I wonder if this man knows he's offending God when Belinky was on the phone. I said, now, this man thinks he's all powerful. He's bragging about being corrupt. He thinks he's a phenomenon and stuff. I said, ain't nobody a phenomenon except for Jesus. And I consider Jesus God. He's God in the flesh. Because God has three manifestations. One person, but he's God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. The Bible teaches me that these three are one. But I said, I wonder if he knows that he's offending God. And God made the family. And you don't have no right to separate a family unless there's some abuse and neglect going on. Other than that, it's unconstitutional and it's actually, stepping on God's toes. Just like same-sex marriage. I said, now, he designed marriage. He made male and female. And he said that a man leaves his parents to unite with his wife. And he made them male and female. That's the way God did this. And then when he made male and female, or man and woman, they got married. And he said, go ahead and be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth up and all that. So God did this from the very beginning. And you don't have no right to mess with God's creation and the way he designed things to be. That's why this country's going down. I always say this, but you're seeing the start of the fall of America. But God still holds the ties and stuff. But, you got all these different weather disasters. It's the beginning of sorrows. Especially for this country, because this country's been so hypocritical. And God we trust and all this kind of stuff. And just as racist, it's just a very, very racially ill, racially sick country. And that's why I said I don't care what nobody said. I'm at the age I don't care. You can deny it all you want and stuff. I said, but I understand uh, white people won't stand for the anthem. I understand what the Black Lives Matter movement is. I said, maybe if you wasn't shooting down these black men in the street like their lives don't matter, they wouldn't have came up with that. That's the reason why civil rights. You had to come up with civil rights law because white people, the racist white people, and like again, I said all white people are not racist. I said you had white people marching with Martin Luther King and civil rights leaders and activists back in the 60s. White people out there because they're not in denial. They can admit to this country being racist. But when racist white people were not allowing black people, to have the same opportunities in every category, education, housing, employment stuff, they had to come up with civil rights laws. Same thing with affirmative action. That's the reason why that stuff was necessary. And racism is in every fiber of American culture. It ain't went no place, but a lot of people don't even racist white people don't even know the difference between the word racist and racism. But it has to be a practice and it's based solely on a person's race and they're treated negatively. And the only people in this country that has that system, that has that power to impose their race negatively on another race is white people in this country. So in America, it's a white phenomenon, the word racism. But a lot of people don't understand it. And that's the reason why I say that I'm being treated, negatively because of my race. Same circumstances. Autistic, son or daughter, having, let's say, aggressive or a meltdown. But I know they ain't telling the white mothers, you did that, you're escalating them. But that's what they would tell me. I was blamed for that. But like I said, the incompetence is about as bad as the corruption. Because throughout the years, I knew people didn't know about autism. Because if they did, they wouldn't blame my son for his disabilities, or they wouldn't blame me, or they wouldn't be trying to, like I had to tell this one so-called school employee, they wanted to put Marquis, make him eat in the cafeteria, where all the students were. I said, no, he will have a meltdown. It would throw him sensory overload. That's like me telling him, get out there and start learning how to drive and giving him the key. I said, right now, I ain't saying that he could never do it, because I believe in God. I believe in miracles. But right now, tomorrow, he ain't going to be able to do that. Same mistake that they had over there at the State of Ohio facility, because they mislabeled my son as moderately retarded to commit him over there. And he is not moderately retarded. And he was abused, before. But they went ahead and the whole system, the whole rotten, racist system in courts, they went ahead and illegally, because it wasn't legal, because even their own state statute said to, civilly commit an individual, they have to be moderately retarded. My son is high functioning autistic. He is not moderately retarded. But they went ahead and put him over there and was trying to put him in this day half. Well, my son couldn't even take it because he was scared, because they had a whole lot of retarded, low functioning MR residents over there, and he said they were slobbering and the noise they were making, and it was scaring him, and it was too noisy for him. I said, you can't take him over there. Because autism and mental retardation is two different things. I said, because my son is autistic and he has sensory, integration problems. He can't tolerate all that noise and all the senses really. Because he said when they were drooling, it was scaring him. Because Marquis, that's my son's name, he told me about it. And I told him, I said, you should have asked my permission before you did that. Because I gave them a trigger list and everything. I said, because mentally retarded residents aren't autistic residents. They have different needs, different things that go on with them. So all five senses are affected. And that's the reason why my son was saying not only was he sensory overloaded with all the noise and stuff, but what he was seeing them do. So I know people don't know about autism. I've seen it in healthcare, I've seen it in law enforcement, I've seen it in education, I've seen it in the different agencies, and the stuff and the people that he's forced to be around. I said, you can't even understand those native Africans, but I've heard people bark at him, yell at him while he's talking on the phone. Get off the phone. You shouldn't be on the phone, and upset my son and grab the phone from him and just escalate him. And I've seen, as a mother, that's why I say ain't no trash. I said, because I don't care if you're white, black, Native African, African American, Chinese. When you mistreat people, you're the lowest of the low. You're scum. And I say, ain't nobody gonna come in my face and say nothing. Unfortunately, I don't know all of their names and stuff, but they can't keep no staff. But that white trash that's in Newark, and that's what I'm gonna call her because she's a white girl. That's the associate director of Consumer Support Services Incorporated that lied on my son and stuff. I told her to the face. Aaron Sanford too. But she's with a new law firm called the Nye Law Group, LLC. And Nye is N, like in Nancy, IGH. So it's called the Nye Law Group, LLC. So she is no longer with Mashburn. And there was yet another review about her, and these are from, some white people too. The lady said that Sanford took her son away from her and gave it to the son to his father. And I said, but Sanford, is one of those corrupt, evil, unfit attorneys that, because the more that you get away with something, then you think you're untouchable. Like Belinkey, he thought that he was unstoppable. And God will stop you. Now, the whole world might fall at your feet, because that's who's going to stop the Antichrist. Jesus has to come back and put an end to it. But this man bragged about he was a phenomenon, and the probate court appointed him so much and stuff like that. So he was the cream of the crop to the corrupt probate court of Franklin County, Ohio, and unhonorable Judge Robert Montgomery. He was their favorite son. But God will take the evil off this planet. And that's what God did. God just put his light out, took that evil off this planet. Because, if you listen to the audio tape, you hear this man bragging big time. And that was one of the things he bragged about. Because, quote, I run over people in court because I got a big mouth, unquote. I said, well, this is awful. It's bad enough to run over people in court, but to brag about it? Be proud of your corruption? And you abusing your power as an attorney? Because he's the one that filed to take my guardianship away. Because they took that away because of my advocacy for my son and my race. Because they know that I will expose them. And I've been exposing them. I said, you don't have to do anything wrong for sick, racist, evil people to not do you right. I had to tell my son that because he was wondering, like, what in the world have I done to be treated like? I said, nothing. You have not done anything. When people mistreat you, it's because they're sick and evil. And see, I think about how they treated Jesus. Here he was, the Son of God. God in the flesh. The Bible says he was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he was without sin. And he was hung between two genuine criminals. So just because somebody mistreats you don't mean you deserve it. There's some sick, evil, wicked, racist people in this world. They're sick in the head. And that doesn't mean you have to do anything. Because my son ain't done nothing to none of them people, neither have I. And I said, advocating for your son and speaking up for him and exposing what's happened to him, ain't abusing and neglecting your son. But they treat, you know, uh, non-whites in this country a lot worse, a lot harder. Because I guess it's who does she think she coming in here telling us and talking about our staff and how he being treated and stuff. They resent that, especially from a black person. What is she coming here all uppity? Who does she think she is? Because I guess we supposed to just hang our heads and hang our lip and not say anything. Because them white parents can raise sand, raise hell, nothing come out of it. But they don't want no black people or non-whites coming in there doing that. So I wasn't supposed to say anything when I see my son being abused and neglected and him telling me. And that's why I say on these audio tapes, people hearing their own words. But I walk in there, my son been traumatized and terrorized or in sensory overload all day long, and he tell me about it. They would have him so agitated and upset. Same way when I used to talk to him on the phone. But they try to blame that on me. I said, well, I'm going to remind you of how unfit and abusive your staff is. And I said, my son ain't never said anything about me um, hating on me or not loving me. I said, but he's got a right, and I want to know what's going on with my child. So he has a right to tell me what's going on. But he would get on the phone and he would be so agitated. And you'll hear that I'm getting ready to get to these tapes. This is from March the 3rd, 2012. He was at Columbus Developmental Center, the state of Ohio intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. And you'll hear him talk about how he was happy, excited to be coming back home. You'll hear him actually tell me that he was tired of missing me and that he was hungry. And then you'll hear him hanging up the phone because he was so hungry. And when you're hungry, you're not feeling good. These idiots thought that I was supposed to be able to shut him down when he was agitated. And I said, if you were traumatized and terrorized and assaulted and beaten by staff and residents, you tell your mother about it too. And I said, and I don't think you're going to be calm about it. I mean, these are basic things that I know that none of them people know about autism. But see, they like to sweep all that stuff away, incidences, and go on with their lives and think it's all over with. I said, but God's got a date and time when not that he only going to bring my son back home, but this is going to be something that God going to use to put it out there. And like I said, I ain't getting no letters from no lawyers, none of those lawyers or attorneys out there about slandering anybody, because it's all true. That's the way I do it. I got plenty of evidence. Just start from the very beginning. But I'm not going to get any kind of letters talking about cease and desist, or you're slandering this person, that person. And maybe that's the reason why God has me doing this. I don't like taping. I don't like getting pictures and documents, but I'll do it as long as I got corrupt, rotten, racist, evil, unfit people in me and my son's life. And see, they're trying to protect themselves by not letting me see him and stuff. And like I said, I haven't seen him, been allowed to see him in over 2 years. But I got enough stuff on these pages. And like I said, now God is in control. And when he says, this is the day that he comes back home, Marquis will be here. Marquis is going to be here when Jesus says he's going to be here, and the way that he's going to send him back home. And I believe that. I don't believe that's my son's life and destiny to be living in a corrupt, wicked, racist, evil system, living like a worse than an inmate. I say even these inmates get phone calls from their families and visits and stuff like that. I just don't believe that's what God has for my son. And me too as a mother, because I'm a victim in this. That's why I said, and I don't care about national anthem, but I will not stand up and put my hand on my heart for Pledge of Allegiance. I can't say it. It's not real. It's a lie for my son and for me. I said, anytime you can't see your own son and you ain't abuse them or neglect them or cause any dysfunction like they have treated my son like an animal. And I got the evidence on these pages to prove it. I said, anytime a disabled individual can't see his own mother, I said, I'm not going to stand up there and say some life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness and justice. And see, that's what the thing is that they're doing with this national anthem. I said, it sounds pretty. Everybody sings it and everything, but it don't mean anything. When these guys are taking a knee, that's what they're talking about. They said they can't support a symbolism of this country when this country has been so divided and practices racism since 1776. The Liberty Bell had a crack in it from the beginning. But I really don't pay that much attention to the national anthem. But I think out of the two, I probably wouldn't even stand up for that. But ain't no way in the world I would do the Pledge of Allegiance because it's got words in there that's not factual, at least for some people in this country. And it's been like that since, here we go, 1776. So I can't say with life and liberty and and justice for all and the pursuit of happiness, I can't say that. That's not true. You think my son getting life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, and he can't even, he has no quality of life. He has no family life. He doesn't get to be at home with the mother that he loves, that he knows loves him unconditionally, the mother that he adores. He has no hobbies. He doesn't have a family life. He has no quality of life. He's hungry. He's mistreated. He's abused. He's neglected, exploited for federal funds. That ain't, I'm not going to say it. You know, anybody thinks something wrong with that, then they're the fool. Excuse me, but that's what they are. I said, he sure ain't had no justice. He's been beaten. He's been assaulted. I seen that with my own eyes. Stolen from, lied on. I said, he don't have no kind of quality of life. Rights been trampled on, human rights violation, constitutional rights violations. There's been civil rights violations. He ain't had no kind of rights. Can't even see his own mother, and he ain't done nothing wrong. I ain't done nothing wrong. But spoke out as an African American mother in a racist, sick country. And that's why I say you got Trump in there. He's being humiliated and humbled by God and stuff. But this country gonna go down because it's been just too wicked and too hypocritical with the racism and all this kind of stuff. God we trust and all this kind of stuff. And God putting all this racial stuff right out front and center. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you listen to this recording. And it's from March the 3rd, 2012. And when Marquis told me he was excited about coming home, he was on the phone. Then later that day, I went to visit him. And he was a lot better. But on the phone, he was telling me that, he was excited to be coming home. And then, we had hung up and he had called me back. And he was very, very upset and agitated because he was having hunger pains. He told me he was hungry and, to hurry and buy him something. And, I said, ain't no parent want to, when you got your loved one, especially a disabled loved one, but just a loved one, and you got them in a facility or hospital, something like that, you want them to be treated with dignity. You want their needs met, at least their basic needs. I said, you can't, because they didn't care about with him being autistic, versus a mentally retarded person. He had like sensory needs. And again, all 5 senses. It ain't just noise that they can't really handle. All the senses. So the taste. So there's a lot of things that my son wouldn't eat because he didn't like the taste or the texture. Now, again, nobody knows, Because that gal, named Amanda Kelly, I think that was her name. I think her first name was Amanda. I said, well, I want to give you these triggers. I said, you need to know about these triggers. She looked at me like I was crazy. I said, well, how are you going to be able to take care of and work with a autistic resident and you don't know about triggers? But getting back to the taste bud, so I said, you know, you need to know about the triggers. But going back to what I was saying about, my son being hungry, he told me the only thing he could eat was a little bit of macaroni and cheese. And I told him, I said, he doesn't like a lot of butter and stuff on his vegetables and all this kind of stuff. But they would fix stuff and said to hell with him. If he liked it, he ate. If he didn't like it, too bad for him. So I was going over there like almost every evening. So I would always buy my son food. And he was telling me, I'm hungry, buy it for me, come over here, like now, But, I would go over there and wash his clothes and everything. That's because I love my child. And I'm baffled by that. I'm going like, what? Because I'm black? Am I supposed to love Marquis less than they love their kids? I mean, what, why do they think that, and to me it's racism and no respect for my motherhood skills. I said, I've been a registered nurse for 31 years and I'm a Christian. And I'm going back to school for advanced degrees. And I'm going to put degrees because I want 2 advanced degrees. And, and I think the best thing I got going for me is that I'm a Christian. And I ain't nothing, I'm not, you know, uneducated and all this kind of stuff. I've been a registered nurse since 1987. Graduated from nursing school in 86. That's why I say 31 years. And anytime you can't see your own child, and they can't prove that I've done anything wrong with Marquis, but they sure slander me. All they say is, she escalates him. I said, I bet they don't tell, I know they don't tell them white moms that. What you bet? So there's your racism. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and let you hear this. March the 3rd, 2012. And I'm going all the way to the last time I talked to my son. So we got many, many more to go. This is on a cassette tape, so it's not that clear. Around March of 2013, the year 2013, I start taping on a voice recorder on a smartphone, so it'll be clearer. So here we go. And this is my son. This will be on the audio tape page. It's called the audio tapes of Marquis Tanksley, his suffering, abuse, and neglect. And it's also in my YouTube channel because I upload them to YouTube. And I probably got, probably about at least 60 and counting recordings, And then don't forget my other 2 pages and go to the very beginning when you go to them. When I first created, go to those posts first. So here we go. This is my son at Columbus Developmental Center in Columbus, Ohio, state of Ohio. Operated and ran intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded. It was owned by the state of Ohio, ran by the state of Ohio, Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. So here we go.
Did you eat any breakfast or lunch? No, I didn't. I was still hungry. Oh. Well, hopefully you'll eat you something for dinner. Mommy will bring that chicken and rice. Not chicken and rice, but sweet and sour chicken over there. My son is having an incident over at Broadview too. He was talking to me on the phone and he's agitated. When he called me, he was agitated. So and I think there's an incident. I'm on my way over there, but I do need some time to get over there. Okay, who's this? I'm sorry. This is his mother, Myra Tanksley, parent of Marquis Tanksley on Broadview 2. And I think he's having an incident over there with the staff and stuff because he was very agitated when he got on the phone when he called me just now and stuff. So, put me over there one more time, and if they don't answer, then I'll be on my way over there. Okay, is that for me? Uh-huh. Yes, sir. The line's tied up at the moment, so they're trying to deal with what's going on over there. Okay, well, then send somebody over there. I'll be on there because they should be restraining him and stuff like that. He's got a hernia, and I'll be over there. Okay. Thank you. I'll let them know. Bye.
So there you have it. That ending was actually my son was on the phone, and he was, telling me that he needed me to buy him something because he was hungry, and they probably grabbed the phone from him, and I heard a click and it went dead, so I called back and you know um, got this guy and told him I want to be connected back over there, and he came back and said the line was still tied up, so I said, well, I'm gonna come over there because people had restrained my son so much they gave him a hernia by laying on his stomach, and I mean he just been through pure hell. Nobody knows the suffering my son's been through except for Jesus, because Jesus is with him, and that's my hope. But I'm looking forward to him coming back home. But I vow, and I know the Lord has allowed me. These patients ain't going nowhere. As long after this stuff is done, and the Lord sends me and Marquis to our destinies, the things that He wants us to do with our lives and stuff, this stuff will still be out here. And you know, it's just awful the way that He has had to suffer and continues to suffer by you know ruthless, evil, unfit, corrupt, racist, abusive people. And God is going to punish people, And that's why I told him, I said, well, you let me know what you did with David Blinken. Because that man acted a fool on the phone, and then he lied and filed for the system to take my guardianship away, which wasn't ethical. And like I said, just because somebody take your guardianship away don't mean that it's ethical and that they were right in doing it. As that, it's just the way, evil people do. When they're corrupt like that and they don't have no accountability, oversight, they'll do anything because they've been getting away with it too long. But God punished that man. Sometimes God will move you aside, and sometimes He'll just take you off the planet because we're so evil. And I know God wanted me to find out about it because ain't nobody called me and told me. The Lord made me get the newspaper that day, open it up, maybe go to the obituaries and see his name. And then the Lord said, vengeance is mine, I will repay. And then when I went to the funeral home memorial thing, they said he had died unexpectedly at home. So you let God fight your battles because there ain't no battle for him. And like Jesus said, it's already handled. And I just praise God right now that He's with my son. He's with me. He's with him for comfort, peace, and protection. And I thank him. I just thank God right now that He's bringing my precious son back home, and that He will defeat the injustice in all of this. And me and Marquis will live the life that God's destined. Because when God wants him back home to live the life that He's destined for him and me, they can't stop that. And they better hope that God don't get too angry with them. Because sometimes God will just take people off this planet and, or punish them in some other kind of way. And with that, Marquis, I love you. I miss you. I think of you every day. I'm recording this on October the 15th, 2017. And I love you. And Mom misses you. And Jesus loves you too. Hang on in there. I'm proud of you. I'm honored to be your mother, and I'm honored to be a Christian. And that's it for now. Look for this on the audiotape page on Facebook and or my YouTube channel under Myra Tanksley. Thank you. And thank you for listening.